G'day and welcome to Blues Guitar Snacks Deluxe Servings. Today I'm going to talk about something really important. It's blues rhythm, but a really great little trick for playing blues rhythm with just two notes that make everything sound great and everything feel great. Now before I get into this, just a little bit of a theory primer. Now don't leave, I'm not going to make this really boring, I'm going to make this as understandable as possible so you can get on to the next bit about the two notes and we'll get a sweet result. Chords and harmony. The definition, what is it? Well, it's more than one note played simultaneously, okay? What notes do we choose? Well, Western music at the core is really built on the major scale. Everyone's heard it, it's the do-re-mi scale, right? Okay, we take notes from that scale in any form, play them together to get different sounds. Each one of the notes in the major scale is numbered. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8, which is the 1, because it starts again up here. So it's basically the major scale again, except up higher. Different sounds of chords are also achieved by sharpening or flattening notes from that scale when played simultaneously with other notes as well. These numbers are called intervals. Now within the context of this lesson, the intervals are the distance from the root note. Okay, so this is the root note, the first note, the 1. This is of course the 1, 2, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, okay, and then you guessed it, the 7th. Okay, just a quick example, that 7th is often flattened to get different chord sounds as well. Especially in the case of the blues, in what we call the dominant 7th chord. Also, I want to address something that guitar players get tripped up on. When they're learning music theory, of course, you'll see it in a theory book and you'll see the stave and you'll see the notes, and the notes are stacked up according to what sort of notes need to go in to create a certain chord. Okay, it's a formulaic thing. So like a 1, 3, 5 is a major chord. The first note, the third and the fifth make a major chord. You'd know that if you know an F chord, right? It's the same note up in A on the 7th fret here, okay? But what about when you go beyond these 3-note kind of triadic, cowboyish kind of chords? What do we do to build other chords in the kind of jazz idiom and the sort of jazz type chords that you find also in all over the blues? So if you know how to play an A chord, we can move on with this lesson and get into this real deep. So play your A bar chord up on the 5th fret and then lift your pinky off. That gives you, instead of another root note, it gives you a what we call a flat 7. Now the formula for a 7th chord, if you want to play it in any other way, is 1, 3, 5 and flat 7. Now when you see it in theory and written on paper, piano players, for example, can play them the way they're written because they've got 10 fingers across the keys. We've most of the time just got available to us 4 fingers to play a chord and occasionally the thumb over the top as well. But so typical for a guitar player, and I was this guy, Years ago I sat down with a theory book and went, okay, it's 1, 3, 5, flat 7. I need to make a dominant 7th chord, okay? Okay, so it's 1, 3, 5. Oh, where's the flat 7th? Okay, I know it's a G note. Well, I can't play it here because I've already got the 5th on the same string. The only other one I've got available is here. Two problems with that. It's highly impractical. I mean, look at the way my fingers are spread out over the neck. You're not going to be able to grab that chord in a hurry, okay? And it doesn't really sound that great either. It sounds a bit naff. So the rule is on the guitar, no matter what the formula says, if it goes numerically from low to high, 1, 3, 5, flat 7, and it's the same with pianos and any other harmonic instrument too. They can play what you call different kinds of voicings as well. They can order the notes in different ways to create slightly different sounds, but theoretically they are correct. On the guitar, most of the time we need to actually arrange the notes in different ways so we can actually hold it in a comfortable way and so it sounds good as well. So let's go back to our bar chord, okay, our bar chord version of A7, and see what intervals are in there, okay? What we do know is we've got a root note, the 1, we've got another one up here because we've got 2 E strings on the guitar, we've got the 5, the flat 7, the 3 up here instead of down here, another 5. Okay, so we've got 2 instances where the notes are doubled up. We can clean this up and we don't need to play these, okay? So if you've got a bass player, for example, playing that sort of thing and leading with the bass note, playing a lot of the the root note, okay? You don't need to be playing it. So get rid of this and get rid of this one. For now, we don't need it, okay? Also the 5th, there's 2 of those. The thing is with the 5th, it's a note that thickens up the chord. It doesn't really have much more function than that. It doesn't really change the character of the chord too much besides giving it a bit of a thickener in this instance, at the very least anyway, in this instance. Okay, so we can get rid of the 2 5ths, we get rid of the 2 root notes, and what are we left with? We're left with the flat 7, which is the G on the D string on the 5th fret in the key of A, and then the 3rd on the 6th fret on the G string here, okay? Those 2 notes are enough to play a dominant 7th chord. That is an A7, whether it's got an A note in it or not. Even without it, it's an A7 chord, okay? In the context of playing with a band, that will sound like an A7 chord with someone else taking care of the root note, maybe someone else playing the 5th and other notes around it as well. By the way, these 2 notes here are what we call the tritone. It's an interval name and it's a flat and 5th away from each other. So if you count the major scale up from the lower one, okay, and flatten the 5th, we've got what we call the tritone. That tritone, the flat 7 and the 3, is critical for making a 7th chord sound like a 7th chord. Now something a little bit magical about the way the guitar's built. Now this was taught to me by Jim Kelly, who's a great guitar player from Australia. He was teaching at Southern Cross University up near Byron Bay. And this blew my mind the first time I realised this about these 2 notes. These 2 notes, as we know, are a G and a C sharp. Hang on to this shape and slide this shape up the neck, staying on the same strings until you find a G and C sharp again. C sharp and G. It inverts. Okay, so the way the guitar's built, those 2 notes invert when you play them on these 2 strings and keep the same shape and slide them up the neck. So now you've got 2 places to play A7 that don't rely on the root note. There's the root note for reference, there, and here. Okay? So, when we're playing the blues with these 2 notes and we want to go to the 4 chord, what do? Okay, because of the way that works, we can go like this. A7, flat 7 and 3, move it down 1 fret. Now that becomes the 3 and flat 7 of a D chord. D7 chord, I should say. What is D in the key of A? It's the 4 chord. What chords do we have in the blues? The 1, 4, 5. So we should be able to play the 1, 4, 5 very locally around here without rushing all over the neck, and very cleanly as well. So play the tritone on the 5th fret, you've got an A7 chord. Move it down 1 fret, you've got a D7 chord. Pretty cool, huh? Now what about an E7 chord? Well, there's the root note. Go up a fret from the A chord. Down 2 frets to the D7. And then back up 1 fret to the A. So to recap, A7, D7, A7, E7, D7, A7. Now if this first one inverts up the neck in a different position, can you play that same progression by doing the same thing? Yes, you can. A7, D7, A7. Up to E7 by 1 fret. 2 frets down to D7 and back up to A7. So you've got some real economy here. What you get out of this is not much movement. You've got a nice solid thing to play in the middle. Okay, but what else do you notice? Yes, we've got spare fingers and spare strings. So that sort of alleviates the conundrum that guitar players have with extended chords. We've gotten rid of the bass note and the 5th, the 2 instances of it, to free ourselves up to play other notes. I will do another lesson on that. If you subscribe below, very soon you will see a lesson coming up on more complex chords within the blues. Chords that many people consider the sort of harmony from jazz, but you'll hear it all through the blues too. And I'll teach you how to do it really, really easily. So that's my plug for an upcoming video. So that is your 2-note chord. This example coming up is me playing over a shuffle, okay? And all I'm doing is playing these 2 notes to accompany either a singer or a soloist or anything like that. You'll hear how clean it is, and you'll be able to imagine that there's an organist or a piano player or another guitar player doing this. We don't need 2 people doing that, okay? You can. The drummer and bass player will love you, and as will the singer and soloist, because you're being a supportive player, playing as clean as possible and playing the most essential parts of the chord while other people play all the other stuff. Enjoy!